He's famous for all kinds of things, but today he's here in Foundation. Thanks, Prof.
Thanks, Vern. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is a very brief one and a very pleasant one, namely to welcome you to Mandela House as the chair of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I make that point because this is an event in which there are two participants, the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Human Sciences Research Council. And I happen to chair the Human Sciences Research Council as well, but I'm welcoming you to Mandela House as the chair of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. And we've had very good cooperation over the years with the Human Sciences Research Council. We've done some very productive work together. We've done that on the HIV/AIDS research, which you remember. So it is good to have the HSRC with us here in this joint event today. This event is part of a series of 3 which the Nelson Mandela Foundation will be conducting to celebrate Madiba's birthday. As you know, he will soon turn the marvelous age of 88. And this is the first of 3 of those events which the Nelson Mandela Foundation, through its Center for Memory, will be putting up and be participating in. And all of those will revolve around the theme of memory. And this one, and Kolela and others will talk about this, is a joint launch of the exhibition of photographs, Madiba, public and private, and the book, The Meaning of Mandela, about which Kolela will speak. The exhibition of the photographs is on display outside and will be on display for a while. And it's a conversation, as you might have seen, is entering between 2 collections, one by Jürgen Schardenberg and the other by Alf Kumalo. The book, and Kolela will talk about the book, and I'm not just anything about that, is published by the HSRC, and it comprises 3 lectures that were delivered on the theme of the meaning of Mandela. Just 2 important things to note here from the Nelson Mandela Foundation side is that we supported that lecture series, and we facilitated those speakers meeting with Madiba while they were here. But Kolela, as you know, we always make this point, we neither endorse the content of the book, nor do we necessarily agree with everything that's in the book. But what we do wish to encourage and support is the intellectual inquiry around the meanings and significance of Madiba's life, time, and work. And with those few words, it is my real great pleasure again to have all of you present here, honoring us, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and honoring Madiba as he approaches that birthday, turning into the double 8. Thank you very much for being here. To our trustees from the NMF and from sister organizations, particularly welcome. I see some council members from the HSRC. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the afternoon or morning with us.
Thank you very much, Prof. I hope the following speakers have all taken note that Prof is kept to 4 minutes, and we'll be trying to do that right the way through. Kolela Manku is our next speaker, formerly of the HSRC, currently based at the University of the Witwatersrand, and the editor of the collection of lectures called The Meaning of Mandela. Thanks, Kolela.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The when I was asked to write a dedication for the book, I chose a phrase to thank Madiba, and you will see in the dedication it says, "For the gift of freedom." And speaking for those of us who are of a younger generation, I cannot imagine a greater gift than that. And literally the world, Madiba, rewrote its script because of the intervention you made on our behalf. And the book really, in many ways, is a way of thanking you for making us who we are. It was a daring idea, I must say. My former boss, Mark Okin, is in the audience here. When I approached him with this idea that I wanted to, when I joined the HSRC, that I wanted to host these lectures, these public lectures. I'm a great believer in public lectures. And the only reason I'm a believer in public lectures is that it's about the only space. It's about the only space where you don't have to show a card, whether it's a party membership card or swear any allegiance to anything. It's a public lecture, and everybody in society is invited to come and participate in that lecture and engage in ideas, whoever you are and wherever you come from. And that is why I hold very strongly to the idea of the public lecture as a way of public deliberation in our society. Finally, and it is precisely because of that I asked Wally Soyinka and Cornel West and Henry Louis Gates to come here and give these lectures. To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to come all at one time, and when they did, I really couldn't believe it myself, to have some of the world's most influential intellectuals to come here and reflect on the meaning of Mandela. And I really think it's really a challenge for us South Africans, and I don't think we're doing it very well, frankly, to begin to write about our history, to build scholarship around our history. We read books about James Madison or Gandhi or the philosophical writings on leaders around the world, and I think we need to begin to do that in our country. And this book really is a modest attempt to open that avenue, at least. And I want to say, finally, just to dovetail with what Professor Hevel was saying, was that there is no way that there can be a singular meaning of Mandela. To try and do that, I think, is futile and actually dangerous, because Madiba will mean so many things to so many people. But the only thing that brings those people together, I believe, is the idea of freedom. And it's the idea of plurality, and it's the idea of tolerating each other's ideas. I think that's what Nelson Mandela stands for. And I think the question for our country is whether, in fact, we will hold on to that legacy. People, liberals, nationalists, communists, internationalists, you name them, they will always make a claim on Nelson Mandela. And that's the way it should be. But for me, at least, the meaning of Mandela is the idea of plurality and tolerance of ideas. It's the biggest challenge facing our country right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Galela. South Africa has produced many fabulous photographers, and we're privileged today to have two of them sitting here in front. Some of you are out there as well. But the two here come from a particular generation, and I think you'll agree, having looked at the photographs in the foyer, that what they've given us is a fabulous gift, and a gift to Madiba for his birthday as well. We've asked each of them to say a few words about the gift that they have presented in the foyer. I'm starting with Alf on purely alphabetical grounds, and then we'll move on to Jürgen. Thanks very much, Alf.
Well, to Madiba in the audience, I must say I feel rather honored to celebrate Madiba's birthday with a gift, a very historical gift that we're giving him. Jürgen and I are giving him. It's really one of the climaxes of our lives to get this kind of honor. It's the kind of honor that many photographers would love, especially if it involves a person of Madiba's esteem. I usually speak off the cuff, but this time I decided to write a few words, and I'll be reading what I wrote. The first time I observed Nelson Mandela was at Everton Magistrate Court when he was quizzing a white police officer. You should understand, of course, that it was a time when white was boss and Niblanke did not question the boss. As such, the poor white officer was chagrined to be sitting in court being quizzed by this black lawyer while a fellow white magistrate was pushing that he, the police officer, should answer the questions. Having had ambitions of being a lawyer myself, I marveled at the word battle that Mandela was engaged in. I proceeded taking notes of the court case, late shot pictures of him, and our relationships proceeded from there. Our first intimate engagement as politician and photographer was when we spent a full day together in 1961, me taking photographs and him being a father of his children. I photographed him as we took notes. We drove to Albertsville, Sofar Town, Freedom Square. It was really a memorable day for me, because from then on, I then covered the entire family, including his mother, who came here to find out where her son was. What really happened was that Mandela was first sentenced to 5 years, and she had been writing to him, but when he was in for the second case, the Rivona trial, she wasn't getting any responses. She then came over to Johannesburg to check why. And I did story and pictures that time of her. I covered so much of the family that one day I planned to do a book just on the house called A Prisoner's House. It includes the raids by police and all kinds of things that happened. We were given rather very few minutes. I'll drop it there. The rest is history, though. When Mandela came out, we were all there. And I've traveled to many countries with him. In the US, at one stage, it was just the two of us, and the security was outside. Mandela said, this is Alf Kumalo, my colleague. He was also in jail. Whereupon all the people who were around wanted to pose for pictures with me. But Madiba hadn't mentioned that I've been to jail several times, but with very short stints, like a week, 2 weeks, a month. But they just assumed that I must have spent the same time as he did. And then in Botswana, on his first trip to travel to various parts of the world, we went to Botswana, police were harassing me, and Madiba noticed this. He then went over to the most senior police, in fact, to a junior police, said, where's your chief? And he said, okay, my senior, here's my senior. Madiba then instructed that senior police to take me to his place where he was staying. And of course, that stopped the harassment that was going. And I can remember so many things about Madiba, but since we have limited time, I'll say thank to everyone.
I also feel extremely privileged to be here and to have my photographs. at this occasion. I first met Madiba, and I don't know if you remember, in 1951 in Bloemfontein at the ANC conference. And you were smoking a pipe. But I think that was maybe the first and the last time you ever smoked a pipe. There were 350 delegates at this ANC conference, and it was maybe one of the most important ANC conference. And this is where the final decision were made to launch the Defiance campaign. And Madiba was the volunteer-in-chief and also the ANC youth leader at that time. And I found Madiba as a very exceptional, dignified person standing out very much. Everybody was very agitated and nervous, and Madiba, as now, was terribly relaxed and in control. We met again soon after at Andy's place, which was a printing shop down Commissioner Street, printing the Defiance campaign pamphlets and posters. And the printing shop used to be a bakery, and there was an old oven, bakery oven, and my job was to use a long, long shovel and bring out the odd bottle of brandy, which was hidden in the oven. And we got chicken, curry chicken from Uncle Joe's restaurant. And there was Anthony Sampson and Walter Sisulu and many others who were involved with the Defiance campaign. And we were joking about apartheid. And then there was a time where we decided that we would point out who would be the next cabinet ministers and give each other's position as cabinet ministers. I don't know if you remember. It was a time in which one must remember we were still joking about apartheid because everybody then believed that it wouldn't last. We all thought that within that decade, within a few years, it would be gone because it was at the time when there was humanism, there was the Nazi Germany, fascism and racism had been conquered. And there we were in South Africa going into the opposite direction. And it just was so ridiculous and unbelievable that we were still then able to do a lot of joke and have fun about it because it looked so ridiculous. I again met Madiba and took his pictures on Robben Island in 1994 on a revisit. And again, to my surprise, Madiba was so terribly relaxed and in control. And I promise you, if I would have been in prison for 27 years, I would have been a very nasty person. I'm just amazed by the honorable person Madiba is, and I think he's so important to South African history and South African society. And I believe that only in a very distant future we really will believe and will understand what he has done for South Africa. Thank you very much for the privilege of being here.
Thank you very much, Alf and Jürgen. That's the end of the interesting speeches. We just have two very brief inputs from two suits, one being me, and the other one, Adrian Hadland, if you can come up. Adrian is a senior manager with the HSRC.
In my suit. Madiba, colleagues and friends, this won't take long, just a few thanks that we need to go through. The HSRC, Human Sciences Research Council, is a statutory organization, and it's one that's committed to social science that matters. And in our belief, this is social science that matters. And I hope you will believe that too, particularly when you get a chance to watch the DVD or read through the book. What could be more important, frankly, than coming to terms with and trying to understand the circumstances and the leadership which brought us to where we are today and which underpin where we hope to be tomorrow. Now, the HSRC, as a statutory organisation, gets about 50% of its grant from Parliament, but the rest is very much wrapped up, and we are very grateful to our partners who help us in a lot of our projects, and I just wanted to mention a few of those. The Nelson Mandela Foundation, obviously, who have been critical not only to this event, to the lecture series, but also to the book itself, so thank you very much to them. The Department of Arts and Culture, frequent companions, both of the HSRC and also of my particular unit, the Society Culture and Identity Research Program. And special thanks to the Ford Foundation and to the Open Society Initiative for Southern Africa, both of whom provide critical support to incredibly important research that goes on not just here, but around the world. And a few organizations and publications that are very important in the dissemination of this material. So important is it that we get this into the public domain, talk about it, debate it. And the Financial Mail, Business Day, the Sunday Times, JONIC, the SABC, and South African Airways have all played their part in ensuring that this has got out into the public domain. HSRC Press, who actually produced this book, they're a very classy, professional bunch, really have leapt to the top of the pile in terms of academic publishers in the last couple of years. We're very proud of what they've been able to do with this publication, but also with some of the others, which you'll find outside on the table in the foyer. And finally, thanks to Kolela, editor of the book, former colleague, missed at the HSRC by many of us, but we are all delighted that he continues to work with us in bringing to fruition many of the important projects that he began under the HSRC's auspices. And I wanted to wish him farewell and good luck for the future. And a last final point is that as we're all here to mark and to celebrate the birthday of Madiba, I wanted to say thank you and happy birthday, Madiba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. That brings to an end our formal celebrations of the exhibition and the book.